Hello students, and welcome to part one of today's lab, where we are going to be completing the initial part of our experiment, which involves setting up the equilibrium reaction for ethyl ethanoate and acid. What happens is that this reaction actually works specifically with water. And what we're going to be doing is be setting up 6 different test tubes to get the reaction going. We're going to have tube 1 have acid and no ethanoate. Tube 2 is going to have acid and a small amount. It's going to have 1 milliliter of ethanoate. Tube 3 will have 2 milliliters of ethanoate, and so forth and so forth. We're going to add water to each one as well to make it so that we have the same amount. We're going to end up with 10 milliliters of liquid in each one. This is going to also use a brand new technology for you. This is a grease pen. This is to label our project. It's going to go ahead and take a little bit of time for it to get going. What you'll notice is on each of these Pyrex tubes has a small little label on it. And on the tube itself, we are going to go ahead and write which test tube it is. So that later on, when we do our experiment and qualitatively measure the concentration, we will be able to tell which test tube had which amount. Okay. For test tube number 1, we need to have 5 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. Test tube 2 also gets 5 milliliters. All of them here are going to get 5 milliliters. Okay. At this point, all of them now have 5 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. We're going to clean our pipette. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and add in different volumes of ethanoate. Since we are adding different volumes of ethanoate, we want to make sure that we are using our goggles, and we also want to make sure that we are minimizing as much shaking as possible. This is to make sure that we do not end up causing any more to go into the air than is needed. And this is going to go into the concentration of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one has 1. Two. 3. 4. 5. We rinse with water again. Then we're going to go ahead and add in the opposite amount here. The amount of water will be opposite. So we went 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, at this point, we can go ahead and put away our materials. We're going to stopper all of these up. And we're going to go ahead and lightly shake them. We're trying to just lightly shake them. We don't want to cause too many volatiles to escape. Okay. And reading through, it looks like we do not need to have a stopper on them. Shake just a little bit. We don't want to shake too vigorously because since these are volatile organic compounds, they're being released into the environment and they smell not good. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and place them aside for later use. This experiment will take about 2 days before it is ready to go. So, until next time, stay lazy. Hello, students, and welcome to today's second part of the lab. Here we have our vials here, and these vials have finally reached equilibrium. And as a reminder to what we did earlier, we put different amounts of the ethyl ethanoate into each of the vials. What we're going to do now is we are going to go ahead and titrate out. So right here, what you'll see is that we have a titration setup. And in this titration setup, what we are going to be doing is we are going to go ahead and release some of our liquid a little bit of a time. And the liquid that we are going to be releasing in there is going to be sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is a base, and as a base, it's going to go ahead and neutralize the acid that is in our test tubes. A reminder that we added the same amount of acid to each test tube, and that the reaction with the ethyl ethanoate is going to go ahead and make acid. So essentially what we're going to be able to do is we're going to go ahead and be able to compare the amount of additional acid that we add. The additional NaOH is going to compare to how much additional acid we made by messing with the equilibrium with the ethyl ethanoate. All right. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do to this is we're going to go ahead and use an indicator. Okay. And the indicator in this case is going to be a phenolphthalein indicator. All right. And a phenolphthalein indicator is a red indicator, and it's going to end up changing colors. And when this is in a acidic solution, I believe that it's going to end up turning yellow. And then when it's in a neutral solution, which means that it's going to be neutralized, it's going to change colors on us. So that's going to be what we're going to be looking for here. Now, to start using the Puree, Now, to start using the Puree, what we're going to do is first set up the Puree, like so. We want to make sure that we have a receptacle to hold on to our liquids. And then we're going to first fill it with distilled water. And this is just going to make sure that our Puree is cleaned. Okay. And then I want you to take special note here that we will always be measuring the Puree. The bottom line of the Puree is going to be where it's at. So for instance, our start point, if we were doing a measurement, is going to end up being, let's see, 40, it refocused. 44? Yeah, 44.4 milliliters is going to be our start point. You set the Puree like this so that it's perpendicular, and then to open it up, you twist it out like this. This is a good time during your initial practice. While you're cleaning it out, you can just go ahead and mess with it to try and make sure that you're getting the exact drop. So make sure that you're able to get exact drops. And in general, while you are doing this reaction and you're dropping it in, you're going to try and get one drop at a time, and you're going to swirl it like so, and that way it's going to end up mixing together, so that way you'll be able to see when the color change happens more clearly. Okay? So at this moment, we're going to go ahead and clear it out, make sure that it is all clear and good to go. We're going to go ahead and add in test tube 1. Remember, test tube 1 is going to be just our amount of acid. We're going to set it to the side. You don't want to set it directly under your Puree as of right now. We're also going to go ahead and add in a few drops of our indicator. So as you can see, we have this yellowish color right here. And now we will go ahead and fill it with our NaOH. Close first, then we fill up. When you're filling your Puree, it is okay if you don't have it at the exact 0 mark of the Puree. You're more interested in your initial reading and your final reading. Okay. Our initial reading is 0.9 for the first one. This is going to be a case, this is a lot easier when you have multiple people helping. Okay. Now at this point, some of you can see, or you might be able to see that there's a little bit of a color change trying to happen. We're trying to get it right when the color change happens. If we're a drop or two over, that's going to be just fine. You can see that the color change happens every time that it drops one in. It's nice and slow. Take your time. It's getting close. Okay, and as you can see, we have a nice, vibrant color change now. Okay, that indicates that the reaction has gone to completion. We are now going to go ahead and record our new Puree measurement. Okay, so we're recording our new Puree measurement. And as you can see in this case, it looks like it is exactly at 10, right at 10.0. So we'll record that here. The final Puree is 10.0. That's about what I expected here. Okay. So that's for our first one. We're going to go ahead and remove this. We're going to rinse it out. Going to put in test tube 2. We're going to put 6 drops in test tube 2. We're going to give that a shake. Gonna put it underneath. Then we're gonna start the entire process again. For 2, it's gonna start at 10.0 because that's what we started at from before. That's where we left it off at before. Okay, we're getting closer. Alrighty. So now we have achieved our goal. And this time it has went from 10.2 all the way down to, well, let's see, that's 25. 25.85. Okay, now we'll move on to test tube number 3. Okay, we need it to fill up a little bit more. So as you can see, we're at 0.5. We know that it's going to be around the 10 mark, so I'm going to let it flow a little bit quicker here to start. Okay, that's a nice time-saving tip, especially if you are a lazy chemist. If you know what the approximate amount that it's going to titrate at, you can kind of shortcut that and make it happen quicker. Okay, we're getting fairly close here. All right, so we have our next measurement here. Remember, the last one was at 0.5. This one now looks like it is right at 18. So 18.0. And again, we're going to use the same process. We're going to go ahead and re-prep.
I'm getting grilled in email by the counselor about why I gave a student an I.
All right, test tube 4 is now set up. Test tube 4 is going to start at the same point. It's going to start at 18. Again, once you know, you can go ahead and shortcut some of the process. I'm going to go ahead and put in a whole 11 milliliters before we start going slow. Okay. So I put in a little bit more, but like, in addition to making sure that you guys don't have super long videos, I do have a limit on how long this video can go now, so a race against the clock. So you guys can see it's struggling. We're getting close to the end. Close to the end. All right, and we've hit our end point. Look at that beautiful color. Okay. At this point, we are now at 39.15. Okay, this is now test tube 5. This time test tube 5 is going to go ahead and start at 0.8. struggling. It's almost there. Oh! Ooh, there we go. All right, so there we go. Now we have our test tube 4, or sorry, test tube 5 is complete. You can go ahead and record this one, and it ends up being 26.9. Okay, we're on our last one, number 6, and this one is going to go ahead and start with 1.95. All right. So now we have our nice color once again. We can double check. And now we have gone to 31.4. Okay, which means that we should have this as our final data for our project. Not really sure why we have a 7. So, official check to make sure that everybody knows. Put a smiley face in there for 7 because we're happy. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so from here we should be able to start working on our data analysis. There will be a video to help you with the data analysis as we move along here. But for now, you should be able to start working on it. I want you to work on it. I want you to try and work on it and do your best on it. And as we go through the next couple of days, we'll work on it together as well to make sure that you understand the main concept. A brief reminder, remember that this first one is the amount of acid that we added, and that's the acid that we don't care about. every additional bit of NaOH that we added means that there was additional acid created by our reaction. So hopefully that should be able to help you out. And until I talk to you guys about this next time, stay loose.